Welcome to the channel and welcome back to the select few that managed to suffer through the portrait mode video. I apologize for that. I've been making a bunch of progress on this thing and I realized that I'm not very good at documenting it or keeping up on documenting it, even though it's only been a couple weeks and my goal was 1 a month, but I think I should be able to do 2 a month at this rate. So I left you guys off with the fact I was having issues with my springs, and I managed to get that fixed. What I did was I made some shackles at work, and that allowed me to visualize what was happening, and got it all sorted out. Had to put some washers on this side because Chevy Leafs are 3 inches wide and Toyota's like 2.5. So that's all sorted out now. I got my bag mounts on, which I didn't get a chance to finish up last time or even get tacked on. But now you can see how those bags actually float, which allows your axle to drop free. Got the shocks on. All this is actually going to come off one more time because I got to do a final coat of paint. I'm going to sand everything down with just some light grit, give it some traction. I didn't tell you guys how I have this thing secured. I'm just so used to looking at it, I guess I skip over the details. This frame here is all custom. I included pictures of that in the last video, but it's all a custom frame. I've ordered a gimbal to record with, so I'm not as shaky, but I don't have it yet. This frame gets fished in all the way up to here. Got fish plates on it. And then there's a floor frame for the camper, which are these tubes here. And what that allows me to do is bolt that frame to the camper floor and keep it straight, because the campers like to warp, as I was saying. So we have 6 bolts, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 on the other side as well, that bolt the floor frame to the frame. And then we have 6 bolts as well that bolt the camper to the floor frame. So we have 1 here, this one here, that's a horrible angle. This one here is actually a dual purpose bolt, so that one goes all the way through the floor frame and into the Toyota frame. So that's that one does both. And then we have 1 here on the back on each side. So that's how that all gets structured and bolted together. That's just through bolted. I managed to get my spare tire mount on. I just repurposed an old Toyota spare tire mount. And to be honest, after I did it, I realized that that's not really going to work. Factory Toyota, they had a specially shaped cross member to accept that. And that actually would have been facing backwards here. The bolt would be coming, or the spot for your attachment would be coming this way. And your tire would be able to suck up around it. God, it's hard to get angle in here. Your tire would be able to suck up around it and you'd still be able to get your rod in and out. Well, I can't get my rod in and out with that tire coming up, so I'm either going to have to move that. I have some room I can go up with it, but I didn't want to have to drill a hole in my floor. That's how the factory camper was. It had a hole through the board with a little cap on it. I didn't want to do that if I don't have to. I might build a spacer at work that comes down 2 inches or so, and that will stop the tire, but then the tire will hang lower. So I haven't really decided how I want to do that yet. If you have any ideas, let me know. But here you can see the E-lock are all in. Going to do a disc brake conversion on this, and probably actually do FJ hubs to convert to the 6 by 5.5, because right now if you look at these, they are 6 by 7.25. I mean, it's a huge wheel pattern, and these are actually split rims. So Here's where the tow package is going to go. I just put this on. I finished that up too. That was some other progress. This is the rear of the camper frame. That's where the step down is, and I'll take you guys outside and show all the pieces that came out of that. That was so rotted from the factory wood there that I had to cut all the fiberglass out that was holding the plywood in. And now that should be real solid. I'm gonna have to put another piece of plywood down, probably 1/2 inch, and then you'll fiberglass it into the fiberglass it in here. As well as factory, they used some aluminum to come down. All this right here is actually aluminum stapled onto the plywood for waterproofing. It doesn't work very well. That's why they all rot out. But I'll probably end up doing that again, but just do it better. I'm actually a sheet metal worker. It's where I get a lot of the skills in metal and machines to be able to do what I'm doing on this. So I'm very grateful for that. Have a lot of opportunities some people don't. But I wanted to give you guys a quick update because I'm going to be getting ready to cut the cab today. I'll bring this thing down so that way you guys can see what's going on a little better. When I get that gimbal thing, I'll be able to do like time lapses and stuff and give you guys a little bit better of an idea of what's happening, but I don't have that technology yet. I will get this thing down and get it to a point where I can update you guys again, and we'll go from there. Sorry for the fisheye lens if that bothers some of you, but this is such a small area in here. I think it's the only way I can really get it covered. So this is the disaster that is the interior of the camper currently. And like I said, when I got this, it was a completely furnished camper. But again, I'll show you guys the wood. It was just completely rotted in the back. It just had that old musty camper smell. Here's some of the wood paneling off of it. Totally nasty, vintage looking. So when I got this, my girlfriend and I, we stripped it out, and it kind of just sat for a long time. But when I finally got to working on it, the first thing I did was I threw in these bars here. And these go from the H-frame. You can see this side better. That H-frame comes up, sandwiches the window, and actually has this frame up top. And it halos the front, and it halos the rear. And I will pop up the camper so you can see later on, but I got a strap going over it right now to hold this on. As you can see, this is how they secured the fiberglass sides to the wood. They literally just fiberglassed it, so it allows it to move. And they put a couple fiberglass straps here. Again, you can see it easier on this side. Fiberglassed here. And this is so hooked, I don't understand how it was legal. But in 1978, I mean, I guess it is what it is. Also, before 1976, I believe there's 2 years of these, they didn't even have this frame, the H frame. So this camper is so out of square with the frame. I have no idea how it survived. The older ones survived without the frame. I mean, maybe they didn't. They're hard to find now. So what I'm doing right now, and why I have that strap going over the top, so I'm going to cut these out. And why I put these in, I'm not sure if I said, was to try to keep this as square as possible. I have some back here too, just random bits of metal I had laying around. And I squared this whole camper so that way I could pick it up off the bed and move it around and hang it on the lift and everything, and it wouldn't move on me. But now I'm going to cut this one by one out, cut this out, and I'm going to move the bar up, and it's going to go behind the H-frame here, across over to that side. And then, even though I have the camper straight on the cab, up top it's off about 1/8 inch. And now you'll never see that, but I know it's there, so I got to fix it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the crow's nest, or whatever you want to call it. I'm sorry if you can't see me. Pull the crow's nest over and put that bar in, tack it. Well, actually just weld it out. And then that'll keep the camper square to the bottom. And that will be a big step, because then I can get rid of all this bracing in here and bolt it down for good. Well, not bolt it down for good, but bolt it down just to take it back off to paint everything. Once I get it square, I'm going to mark out the cab. The cab's gonna not be cut to the shape of the fiberglass. There's a guy who previously built one elevated overland, I believe. I'll correct that if I'm wrong. But he told me the best way to do this is to not cut the cab to match the fiberglass, but to cut the fiberglass to match the cab. So essentially get the shape I want out of the cab, fiberglass it back in, and then seal it. But I'm going to go one step above that. Because I have access to a burn table and metal, I'm going to essentially have draw up a piece of metal that's going to be about 3 inches thick the whole way around here, all the way down into here. And that's going to get screwed and riveted to the camper. And then that 1x1 tube that's going across here is going to get welded to that galvanized too. So that's going to rigidify everything up here, as well as give me a good sealing surface, because I'm going to use an accordion seal, which is like they use it in semis from the sleeper to the cab. So that way this whole camper shell is separate from the cab, and that's a big thing that is kind of okay in two-wheel drives, but as soon as you four-wheel drive these, you'll start ripping these things out. And this one was two-wheel drive, and you can see that it was riveted to the cab here. That's what I'm talking about. It's riveted to the cab. That one's broke. That's already been fixed before. This rivet broke. Fiberglass is cracked out all around there. Just not a good design, but I guess it lasted 40 years, so it was a good enough design. Anyways, I'm going to get to pulling this over. I got a friend coming over to help me. We're going to straighten the cab out, lift this bar up, weld it in, mark this cab where I want to cut it, so that way I can get it cut, trace that template I was talking about, so that way I can burn that out at work. And then should be ready to rip. On to the next part at least. All right, I'll update you guys in a second. All right, so I got her outside for you after I worked on it quite a bit. What I managed to get done was I pulled out those bars I was talking about. Got everything square, as square as it could be. As you can tell, I'm going to zoom in on you. Over there is about an inch gap. And over on this side, there's about a 2-inch gap. And that's from factory. There's nothing I can do about it other than move the frame. But if I move the frame, it won't support the fiberglass. It's bad. I also replaced these hardware, which were actually 1/4 inch. It was 1/4 inch hardware that was through bolted on either side. And it just through bolted straight into the plywood. Let's get you up under there if I can. And what I did, and I know that's dark, sorry, is I put a kind of a generic sandwich plate in there with those 3/8 bolts and a grade 8 now. Just as an added, just to give it something to squeeze to. So that's a lot more solid now. Now it's still not what I would what I would want it to be. But it's just kind of is what it is. At a certain point, I would be tearing the whole shell off of, like splitting the fiberglass and fixing things if I got down to the nitty gritty, because the whole right side, passenger side of this camper, they're built in halves. There's a half fiberglass mold there, a half fiberglass mold here. And it just to show you right there, and you can see that gap in the aluminum frame. Here's the half point. This side, you can see it worse up top, is about 3/8 forward compared to this side. I don't understand how that passed quality control, but it was the 70s, and I guess anything goes. Well, proof of it being the 70s is the orange shag carpet that's still stapled to the ground. But here it is with the top up. Need to order some fenders. I'm pretty sure I can fix the hood. But I'm trying to get all the welding out of the way, and there has been a fair amount on it. See the little frame system here, which was just connected via a spring, and it just kind of helps it stay up. It's not very sturdy at all. See if I can shake this for you. It's actually not as bad as it used to be now that it's squared up here, but before it would bounce back and forth. So my next step right now is to get in here and cut this out and get a template made for a piece of galvanized. I'm not sure if I've talked about that. And I will apologize because I'm going to say I'm not sure if I talked about that a lot. Probably going to repeat myself. I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to this, so bear with me. But let's get this back in the shop and get that cut out, and I'll update you when that's done. We're back. I want to do a quick video of it with the top closed. This is the reason I went with this body style, was just due to the fact it'll be less top heavy. And then to compensate even more for the height it has up top, I decided to go with a dually axle, which I've already talked about. Just wanted to show that real fast. Well guys, I was going back and forth on where to cut it. I wanted to possibly panel this piece off here, maybe about 1 foot in or 2 foot in, so that way I could keep a jump seat. But I decided heck with that. Nobody wants to ride in a jump seat, and not only that, I don't know if I want anyone to ride in a jump seat. Don't have any children or anything like that. I might tie in some seat belts to the frame so I can legally have 4 people here. And the only reason I do that is for resale value, because I'm never going to have 4 people in here. But here we are. I got a little carried away. Cut a little past my radius. But that's fine. I'll just weld that back up, cut that radius out. The reason you do a radius is the accordion seal doesn't like hard angles, so you do a radius. And then right here, I'll probably blank that off rather than trying to figure out a way to go around that. It'll be easier to make a template for the galvanized, as well as it'll just be easier with the accordion seal. Gonna be a little dark, but I cut it right at the edge of that trim, hoping that the less exposed metal, the cleaner it'll look. But that's it for now. Thank you. Have a good day.